Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Paul McCoy from 12 Stones, and you're listening to Music Existence.
Welcome to another instance of music existence where, because of music, we exist. My guest is Paul McCoy, the voice of the band 12 Stones. I remember growing up hearing their songs The Way I Feel and Broken. Of course, I also remember his appearance on the Evanescence song Bring Me to Life. 12 Stones have six albums in total, the latest being 2017's Picture Perfect. Now they're back with a re-release of the song World So Cold. There's an interesting story behind the song. We're going to talk about that and in general just traverse through his career and see what we can glean from it. Welcome, Paul. Thanks for coming on, man.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So I know like growing up you moved around Louisiana as a kid and there was a lot to take in. Obviously, grunge had a big influence on you, but like when you were growing up as a kid, what kind of influences were you taking all around you at the time?
Yeah, growing up in the South, there was a lot of country music on the radio, so I actually learned how to sing melody in church choir. My mom was, and then country music. I heard guys like Garth Brooks and stuff like that, so kind of got me peaked into how to sing certain melodies, and then I fell in love with grunge as soon as I heard it for the first time.
Oh, that's really cool. So a lot of like Seattle bands around like the Washington area. It's cool to like know that because when you guys came up around the 2000s, like, um, that was when obviously rock was still big, kind of Creed kick-started rock back into the mainstream after like all that teen pop. And when you guys came in, you were part of that kind of early post-grunge era where they were signing like bands younger and younger because, of course, back in the 90s, they went after like Ben Lee and Silverchair and all that. And like, I know when by the time you moved to Mandeville, that was a pretty small scene, like a lot of cover bands. How did you eventually like sneak in your own originals?
Well, fortunately for us, we didn't have to be part of uh any other circuit. We were only a band for about a year. We didn't really do any shows. We played, I think, 13 shows live before we signed our deal. So we were at the right place at the right time, and fortunate that we were kind of in that wave of that type of music popping off at that time. So we kind of snuck in under the radar and happened to be at the right place at the right time.
I mean, you were, and for context, you were like barely out of high school. So by the time you did your debut, I mean, you had those songs out, The Way I Feel and Broken. I mean, obviously, The Way I Feel, when you look at the music video, I mean, you were like very like stoic throughout the video. It's sort of surreal to think about because a lot of people when they get thrust in those situations, they do a video that happens to be about high school. They're like 25, 26 years old looking back, but you were just out of high school, so it was kind of, I mean, how did you feel like being in just this song and then like just that whole experience with fame? Like, of course, you got signed right away. Did the did like the notoriety just sort of creep up on you in the same way?
I still feel like we struggle with the notoriety part of it a lot of times. We've been around 25 years, but back in those days, I wasn't that far removed from those same situations from the video, so it was easy to put myself back there because we were only maybe a year or two removed from high school. I got our first record deal when I was 19.
Yeah.
So by the time our record came out, I still wasn't old enough to get in most of the bars that we were playing. So it was kind of a weird thing, you know, going to play big shows in a bar and having the big X's on my hands while I'm on stage. 'Cause I'm not old enough to be in there drinking. So
So what was that like? Would they like allow you to play a certain amount and then just say like kick you out and keep it like under wraps?
yeah, kind of. I mean, they would make sure that I had either, you know, the X's on the hands or the wristbands or whatever that showed that I was under 21. And usually, as soon as we could come in to play the show, and then we had to leave when we were done. So a lot of it was just come in, play the show, get out, meet people in the parking lot.
Yeah, like and then like so it was like bar shows, but then eventually when the gigs got bigger, then you then you really kind of felt that spotlight on you.
Yeah.
When it came to Bring Me to Life, like that was an arrangement like sort of by the label and like I've talked to people who've done those sorts of featurings, like some people don't even remember singing on somebody's song at all. They're like, "What? I did that?" And it was just part of session work. But the thing with this one is you've kept like such a great friendship with Amy Lee throughout the years. So like how did that get started and how did you guys kind of maintain that friendship?
Well, it was definitely a little bit of a rocky start, unbeknownst to me. I, you know, I know Amy is a fantastic artist. She's a fantastic human being, and so this was her art to start, and it was all her her writing and her creativity. And I know that there was issues with her and the label about creative differences. They wanted the part that I ended up doing in the song. Her and the band did not want it in the song. I didn't really know any of that until well after the fact. But as we've learned to have a mutual respect for each other, our friendship has definitely grown over the years, and we've definitely come a long way in the ability to be on the same side of the conversation. You know, a lot of times people misinterpret interviews and things that have been said and make me the villain of the story. But you know, Amy's always been able to come to the rescue and clear things up to make it not about me, the human, but about the part and the battle between label and band.
Yeah, it was very much a label thing because and you that was just you were still within your first album in the midst of like writing the second. So you were pretty much a brand new band. But, um I've seen you, and of course the fans have seen you perform that song live, and like it's just a natural fit for you, man. It's so great that, beyond that, that you've kept it going for, you know, that long. It's a testament to that sort of endurance.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate, you know, to be able to be a part of a song that has, I think, 1.6 billion views on YouTube or something, or some kind of stream. I mean, billion with a B is insane. I never thought I would be on a song that's that well known, and so I'm eternally grateful to Amy and her entire team for you know, allowing me to be a part of something that's so massive. And then even after all these years, you know, last year at the end of the year, I got to go perform it with them at Louder Than Life in front of like 80,000 people.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's really cool to still be included in that memory and be able to continue making memories off of something that happened, you know, 25 years ago.
Yeah. And I know Potter's Field, that was the next step. That was so much heavier. And it kind of got me thinking like how much times have changed when you think of the song Far Away in the music video. That one has you on the rooftop. Kind of before the video starts, it has the guy in a listening station in a CD store.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he's listening to another 12 Stone song. which is kind of funny. Yeah,
Yeah,
we snuck that in there. That's good.
that whole era, man, that was up to 2004, like, and even beyond then, when you started writing for Anthem for the Underdog, like, even though production was becoming squelchier, a lot less heavy, more kind of watered down, you guys kind of stuck to your heavy roots. And when it came to like the mid 2000s, or mid to late 2000s, when you were writing for Anthem for the Underdog, you had an album track. It was World So Cold. But see, the thing with this, and you'd expressed it aptly before, like the pertinence of that song, like how much it resonates with what's going on today. So talk about like going back to the World So Cold song.
Yeah, we were approached by our good buddy Bobby Amaru from the band Saliva, and he was had a partnership with a record label called Judge and Jury, which is
Yeah.
legendary producer Howard Benson and Neil from Three Days Grace. They co-own this label, and they approached us about doing a brand new song and then doing a song from our past. And I just couldn't think of a better song to still be relevant, 20 years later. Write a song about how messed up the world seemed in 2006, and here we are in 2026, and I don't feel it's gotten any better, obviously. So it's one of those things where it's like, unfortunately, still relevant today. You know, fortunate that we have a song that makes sense from this time, but unfortunate that it's still so relevant.
We didn't really have too much to think about other than which bands resonated with us and which bands didn't. You know, there was all these flame wars about, I mean, there still is on like Reddit forums and all that, like this band rules and this band sucks, but that's kind of all we had to worry about. And now like politics has like taken like the uptick, but then like when you think back to 2006, a lot of music was becoming more and more niche, like niche music, and like, and you've been in the same boat. Like you've noticed like how social media was like on the rise in 2006, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the beginning of like the being able to share your playlist and having, people be so accessible. And now everybody in the world is just accessible at the fingertips. If you can get the smallest amount of information about somebody, and you can know their whole life story, depending on how deep you want to dig, within a matter of minutes. So I think it's made it harder for artists today to find their place in the world when everybody's so quick to just skip, power scrolling and trying. You got to catch somebody's attention in the first half a second. So there's like a lot of things that today make it harder for bands like us to continue to break out and gain new fans and friends along the way.
Yeah, and it's a general attitude shift. You know, a lot of people were curious about meeting bands and getting to know bands. But now it's like when someone looks up information about you, it's not because they want to make a concentrated effort about getting to know you. They want to kind of dig up information to use against you and like say this and that. Well, you said this, and then, but it's not like, you know, someone, you know, just want someone is interested in your story and wants your perspective, which is what I'm doing, and you're giving me
Yeah.
great information on how it was back then and kind of the relationships that you've cultivated along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely a different time now, whereas when we first started, the value was in the song. The value was in the contents of the album cover. People wanted to read the lyrics. People wanted to know who wrote it and where it was recorded, and they wanted to know all the little information. And now it's like, if you don't have something that catches your attention in half a second, you might just get skipped right over because like nobody wants to dive deep into the vault of the artist anymore. It's just everybody, with technology we can make anybody sound polished and perfect and studio ready, but it's so it makes it a lot harder for the genuine artist, I believe, to flourish in these environments where it's just so concentrated and so overpopulated with similar art.
Mhm. But, you know, to the point about, you know, making good connections and teaming up with people and fostering relationships that benefit you in the long run, not only professionally but personally. Um, I mean, Judge and Jury has been collaborating with a lot of guys that I've talked to, and you mentioned Bobby Amaru. You know, they collaborated with the last or someone a singer of the last band that I interviewed, and it's been beneficial to them. And I want to know your side. How was it meeting Judge and Jury, or at least like getting acquainted with them because they're kind of from the scene that you were a part of back then.
Yeah, they're super great. I mean, we got Howard Benson, just legendary producer, all around great guy. I mean, I met him the first day I met him. It was at his house, getting ready to record some vocals, and it was about 30 seconds in, and I felt like we had known each other a long time. We were able to have good conversation, talking everything from football to music and time frames and stuff like that. And then his entire team, his engineer, Hatch, is just fantastic to work with. We had Joe Rickard mixing it. Man, we had Mike Plotnikoff doing guitars, Ian Thunder. We had a bunch of guys on that team that are just top notch all the way around. So knowing how to pick their collective brain in the modern day is just very essential to us growing as artists.
Hmm. And you have grown. I mean, on you mentioned Joe and Mike. I mean, they're not only good at what they do production wise, but they're also not afraid to experiment. Because on Golden Child, which is your original song that you have, the your first instance of new material in a long time, you're not afraid to experiment with going like a little electronic, leaning more towards synths and reverb too. I noticed it really brought everything out.
Yeah, we try to pull out all the stops and use the tools that are provided to us. We always still stand by the fact that we don't really try to record things that we can't duplicate live. I think that's an important factor for bands today to be able to replicate the art without overrunning tracks and things like that. Like we run tracks for like our intro or in between songs just to have some ambient music, but we always try to record on our albums things that we can replicate live and redo time and time again.
And it's kind of like when I think about Beneath the Scars, that was kind of like sort of the time where you kind of rediscovered your roots again. You felt like kind of at home in the studio and like re kind of re reestablishing that heaviness in the same way you're doing it with Golden Child, and like it's like a studio kind of session, like a studio environment, but you use it kind of to your creative advantage rather than like, oh, we got to sound tip top sort of pop kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm an old dog, man. I like grungy. I like to turn the guitars up as loud as they'll go, and I like to scream a lot. So it's like to evolve. We try to use the not use, but be part of a team that understands how to get modern sounds out of some vintage fellas such as ourselves. We try to try to stay true to ourselves and always try to express music in the way we see it and hear it. Luckily, Howard and his team were very open to allowing us to still be ourselves while helping us incorporate a more modern sound.
Yeah, and it's so cool, like hearing kind of the evolution of your sound. You never let kind of the squelchiness of the era of like the mid to late 2000s hinder you kind of in the same way. And like just knowing how you started, with your first album in 2002, um, your vocals were sort of part of the music. They weren't too loud, they weren't in your face because it became part of the music. And in the same way, it's become like an instrument in itself with Golden Child. It's not like this is in your face, listen to my voice, I demand you. You're sort of it's sort of part of its own ambiance. So in a way, even when you're experimenting, you're also like making a return to what you set out to do production wise when you first started.
Yeah, I mean, I always felt like, singing is another variant of an instrument, just that's why bands like Alice in Chains, there's nobody that sounds like that because they used two separate voices and made them work perfectly together and they became part of the song as the experience. And it
Yeah.
wasn't a band and some singers, it was a collective of artists that made this copyable sound. They kind of shaped a generation of guys like us that came in and was like, well, cool, how do we use vocals and melodies and harmonies and things to fit into it? Because for me, music is a emotional expression. So for when I'm writing a song, I like to write the music first, and when I get a piece of music that I really like, I kind of just let it tell me what it's about. I kind of let it set the mood, if it's a sad sounding song, I just kind of let the emotion of the music shape the direction of the lyrics. And that's kind of been my formula for a long time. So in order to I'm able to take the melodies and stuff and use it emotionally to add to the value of the songs.
Oh, nice. Now, like, yeah, when you think about like your early stuff when you were writing Broken and The Way I Feel, did they start out as just like scraps of like phrases and, you know, kind of passages? And then was it like, um, is it something that you stick to now where it's like, is it lyrics first or is it like melodies first and then the lyrics are sort of shaped by the mood of the instrumentals?
A lot of times for me, it starts with a guitar. I'll write a guitar
So
riff or
like the
something. Yeah,
you
yeah. I'll have that, and then I'll just kind of see what that makes me think about, and kind of gives me a little bit of a direction,
so
and
that's
then
when you go
some.
lately I've been
Yeah,
yeah, it's
but
sort
it
of
doesn't always start with the lyrics, and a lot of times it just starts with me mumbling, not even words. It's just more
oh, like yeah,
syllables,
like
and
because when you think back to that song, it seems like you were like mumbling like sort of phrases that sound good, and then eventually it shapes into like, wow, like these are actual words that I can get down. And then
yeah,
eventually it like takes on its own form.
yeah. I mean, I'm still old school. I write everything in a notebook, so my house is covered in notebooks and scratch outs and
You
all
think
kinds of
back
stuff.
to like when you were first starting out, that even like the way I feel is like one of those notebook journal entry jams.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Got it
yeah.
all. I got I'm just notebook, no, all my lyrics, all my stuff. So
It's so cool that you could like draw parallels from both kind of experiences and kind of relate to what you do now, but like just considering the career that you've had thus far, what have you learned about yourself, not only as a musician, but as a person?
Um, I realize I'm a human being, and I realize that none of us know anything about anything. We're all just trying to find somebody that knows more than we do to tag along with, you know. Um, Once you feel like you know everything, you realize you know nothing, you know. So it's for me, it's always just trying to learn from mistakes and make myself better each day. And to just continue to do the things that bring me joy, whether it be writing music or spending time with family. I just, trying to take every day above ground as a good day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Lastly, anything you'd like to say to your fans?
First and foremost, thank you for allowing us to write and perform music that we are proud of and that we love for a quarter of a century now, and hopefully more to come. If you're ever wondering about where we're going to be, we have all of our information at 12stones.com. You can get handwritten lyrics from me. You can get all of our merch. You can know our tour dates. Keep up to date. And if you're ever on social media and you find us, you'll be talking to me directly. I handle all the social media accounts from TikTok to Facebook to Instagram, all of it. So if you ever have any questions, just reach out to one of our socials, and there's a pretty good chance you'll get a response from me.
Pretty awesome to, know that you're at the forefront of it and you don't have to go through like management or this guy or that guy to get to you. You're a direct source of context. So I really appreciate it, man. It's great to meet you. It's great to hear you tell your story. It's great for us to sort of have that dialogue. This has been surreal for me, like seeing you on, MTV as an 11-year-old and then finally meeting you, it's great.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for taking the time to hang out today.
Awesome, man. Yeah,
All right, brother.
stay in touch.
All right, man. Thank you.